The glow of 1,000 screens illuminated the faces of generals and strategists. They weren't staring at live battlefields, not yet. This was a different kind of war room. Rows of servers hummed, processing terabytes of data, simulating every possible scenario for the unthinkable. World War III. This wasn't a game, this was a desperate attempt to understand the unthinkable, to prepare for the unimaginable. By waging war in the digital realm, could we find a way to prevent it in the real world? The simulation whirred to life, a digital world on the brink. The parameters were set. Every nation, every weapon system, every possible alliance accounted for. The goal wasn't to win, not in the traditional sense. The goal was to learn, to understand the potential consequences of global conflict on a scale never before imagined. As the simulation began, the world held its breath, even if it didn't know it. A map of the world, projected onto a massive screen, pulsed with an eerie blue light. It began to fracture, lines of red and blue appearing as alliances solidified. On one side, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, stood as a bulwark against the rising tide. On the other, a coalition of nations, driven by ideology and a thirst for power, prepared to challenge the established order. The United States, a reluctant warrior, found itself leading a global coalition. The European Union, scarred by past conflicts, rallied once more under a banner of unity. Russia, a sleeping giant, awoke with a roar, its vast resources and military might poised to reshape the geopolitical landscape. China, an economic powerhouse, sought to secure its place on the world stage. Smaller nations were forced to choose sides, their fates intertwined with the decisions of superpowers. The lines were drawn, the stage set for a conflict that could consume the entire world. The simulation, cold and calculating, began to play out its terrifying drama. The first strikes came with blinding speed. Hypersonic missiles, leaving fiery trails across the digital map, targeted key military installations. Cyber attacks crippled communication networks, plunging cities into darkness. The opening salvos of World War III were a terrifying ballet of precision strikes and calculated chaos. NATO forces, relying on advanced technology and coordinated tactics, struck deep into enemy territory. The Russian Bear, however, proved a formidable opponent, its vast territory and hardened defenses absorbing the initial blows. In the Pacific, China flexed its military might, challenging American naval dominance in a series of tense engagements. The simulation, relentless in its calculations, tracked the movement of troops, the deployment of weapons, the ebb and flow of battle. Each pixel on the map represented lives lost, cities destroyed, and a world teetering on the brink of annihilation. The digital battlefield, devoid of blood and screams, was nonetheless a chilling spectacle of destruction. The war raged on, the digital map a tapestry of shifting borders and bloody engagements. In the east, a decisive battle unfolded. Russian forces, utilizing a cunning combination of electronic warfare and massed armor, lured NATO forces into a carefully orchestrated trap. The Battle of the Vistula River, as it came to be known, was a brutal affair. NATO airpower, hampered by sophisticated anti-aircraft systems, proved ineffective against the Russian onslaught. Tanks clashed in a maelstrom of steel and fire, the ground littered with the wreckage of war. The digital casualties mounted, each one a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict. The outcome of the battle sent shockwaves through the simulated world. The Russian Bear, thought by many to be a fading power, had proven its might. The balance of power shifted, and with it the course of the war. The simulation, ever vigilant, recorded every maneuver, every explosion, every life lost in this pivotal confrontation. As the war in Europe raged, the Pacific theater exploded into a maelstrom of its own. Japan, a long-standing ally of the United States, made a shocking move. Driven by fears of Chinese expansionism and a desire to reclaim its former imperial glory, Japan launched a surprise attack on American naval bases in the Pacific. The betrayal sent shockwaves through the alliance. The United States, already stretched thin by the war in Europe, now faced a two-front conflict against formidable foes. The Japanese, armed with advanced technology and a fierce determination, proved to be a cunning and dangerous adversary. Naval battles raged across the vast expanse of the Pacific. Aircraft carriers launched fighter jets and bombers in a deadly dance of aerial combat. Submarines stalked each other beneath the waves, their torpedoes silent threats in the deep. The simulation, cold and impartial, tracked every explosion, every sinking ship, every life lost in this new theater of war.